Welcome back. We're speaking with Reza Deghati, an award-winning Iranian-born photographer and humanitarian activist. Now, we've talked about your early years and how you got into photography, and a lot of it was based around documenting injustice. But if you're able to make this kind of comparison, looking at your work, how is it different? What is it that makes you think stand out among your peers?
The most important things I do believe that makes really difference is that I never look to the subject totally in one point, just a narrow point. This is the Oriental philosophy. I'm turning around the subject, whatever is it, and from all different angles. And I'm not trying only to show the worst things about the subject. I'm also more looking to see what is the best angle of the subject. And then when you show the best face of those people, you show the best beauty of their culture, then you say, listen, there is also another angle, which is destruction, which is war, which is wounded people. This makes the whole difference. Because if you concentrate only your works on the destruction, on the wounded people, and you may get fantastic pictures of just being in the hospital, emergency hospital, but you lose the whole scene, which is about the culture and who they are, these people. What is their relation to the humanity? This
Actually, you're right. It dehumanizes people if you only show the bad side.
Absolutely.
In fact, in 2001, you started Aina, which means mirror, and it was to improve the media in Afghanistan, to create a sense of media, including women, to be trained to document what was happening. How much progress did you see with that? Because, of course, it's such a turbulent place.
Well, Afghanistan, being 25 years of the war and the total destruction, I think that the one important thing that needed was a real freedom of speech and independent media. That's how you can bring democracy to a country. If you want to bring democracy to Afghanistan, it should be through a democratization of the freedom of speech, the magazine, the newspapers, the children education. These are the main things that I do believe is the future of the humanity that we have to work on it. So Aina's goal is, which was in Afghanistan, but it is a more international. We are now launching the whole concept in Africa, in Asia, in South America. A huge organization is going to be created based on the model of what I was doing, that empowering women in the media will help bring the peace in the future. Starting education to children, this is also another thing. The new tools of the education, not the classrooms, like magazine we do for the Afghan children, free magazine, which is called Parwaz, or to fly or to soar.
Yeah, it's interesting. In your time your time in Afghanistan, you got close to Ahmed Shah Massoud, the Northern Alliance leader, very charismatic, the late Ahmed Shah Massoud. Why did he let you so close?
I think that it was a matter of the trust. That first times we met, the humans, they have a connection to each other, which goes sometimes behind just information and the CVs and who you are and what you are. When you sit with someone, you start talking, and the eye contact is probably the best things that you can send a lot of information to it. But because also, when I met him in '85 first times, we had the same ages, we speak the same languages, we are both, he was a civil engineer, I was an architect, we were all somehow activists. I was in prison, he was in exile in also, and we were all fighting for the same things, bringing democracy, bringing the freedom in our country. I was from Iran, he was from Afghanistan. But one thing that really was helpful, beside that both of us, we were rooming, Rudy was Rumi, because that we were Rumi, that both of us, we were playing chess. And he was a very good chess player, and I play chess also. So we started playing chess to each other, and it became our favorite pastimes and moments, and there was a lot of discussion we had. It takes, I was almost 17 years on and off, this friendship continued with Masood.
Also, you got some great pictures of Yasser Arafat too.
Yasser Arafat was another leader that I did a lot of works with him, especially when he was under siege. This is the works which Arafat under siege in Beirut, under siege in Tripoli, then he was living in Tunisia, so there was Ramallah. These were the time that I really worked a lot with most of the time working with the people in the time that everybody has forgotten them, all the media. This is how I create also connection. When I feel that everybody is gone, all the big media has gone, and nobody taking care of story, then I go back there, and this creates a totally different relation with the people.
Your book, Reza, War and Peace, is a documentation of 3 decades of your covering trouble zones. You point out it's important. It's not just about the bad stuff. It's about the hope and the good stuff as well. But considering what you have seen firsthand, witnessed some of the worst things in humanity, how do you cope with that emotionally?
But there's two important things about it. The one is that because I'm committed and because I do believe that what I'm doing, what you are doing, we are all peace correspondent. We are not the war correspondent. We are peace correspondent. By showing war, we're trying really to bring the change to the mind of the people. So when you know that this is going to happen, so obviously the difficulties is gone. But the other things that the second things that is important, the way I'm coping, is that really reading a lot of poetry. Always. Rumi, Hafiz, Sadi, these are the ones that help me a lot. Every time I'm really bad shape, I always have a little books of them and taking and reading it. Because poetry, especially the Persian poetry, for us is the pillar of our culture, is the main pillar of our traditions and cultures. Everything, to polish your soul, you go to the Hafiz, Sadi, Rumi, and they do, or Allama Iqbal, which is done in Lahore, yes.
I mean, I haven't seen a tenth of the things you have, working as a journalist. And I know that you've said that there are times you don't even know if your photographs are in focus because you have so many tears in your own eyes. How do you stay positive then?
Well, the way which I'm staying positive is that I can see if we continue the same efforts, in a couple of 100 years from now, people will look back and will say, oh my God, 2009, our ancestor was as wild and as barbarian than the cavemen, because they were building tanks and they were building guns to kill each other. They were so barbarian. Because this should arrive some days. After being all those things the war is doing to the people, to children, to the women, I'm not the same people. I have totally explained to the world till the last minute that the peace is the answer, and education is the key to the peace. Otherwise you will collapse, you will fall down.
Has anyone influenced you? I mean, have you had any mentors or people who've guided you through life?
Most of my mentors really were the people on the street. I cannot really point out like a big poet or big writers, or I was talking about Rumi, Hafiz, these are the pillars. But in what I'm doing, it really, every time I go to the villages, I go to the worst place in the world and I sit down, and suddenly it can be a little, a little boy, like in the case of the Aina, was like a 9-year-old boy in Afghanistan that gave me this idea. Or sometimes I met people, really the people on the street are the best.
So how has your career, your life, your passion, the photography, changed you? I mean, what's the one key lesson in life you've learned from what you do?
No compromise. I never do any compromise when it comes to the storytellings, when it comes to this sending the message of the people which they trust me, they give me their pictures, their souls when I'm coming back. There's no compromise. This is one of the main things that I really hold on it, because you can only one time sell your soul to the devil. If you have done, it's gone. You cannot never take it back. Our challenge is always make sure that we will not be fell down from the past, which is a just past that we decide. I mean, we think is it, and never give up our soul to the devil, because it's gone.
Well, your wife Rachel and your kids have to be very patient because of the amount you travel. How hard is it to hold the family life together because of the amount time you spend on the road?
Well, I'm really lucky because Rachel, she's a writer, and also she knows deeply what is my mind, why I'm doing this, and she totally accepts. Not only this, being French, she speaks Farsi sometimes better than many other Iranians that live in Paris. That is very important. She take the Iranian tradition much more seriously than many of the Iranians living in Europe. So this is how the traditions go to the children, and our children are speaking like more than 2, 3, 4 languages now.
Your pictures will live on, but how do you want to be remembered, you as a person? What legacy would you like to leave?
Well, I think that my photographs, my acts, my photographs, and this new international organization which I'm hoping to launch, which is about the children in magazine education, these are the main things that I would like to remain even I've gone.
Reza, thank you very much for your time. It was such a pleasure.
It was a pleasure for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.